Hello, I'm Simran Singh, and I'm on the Rebel Road, and we are now in Canada. We are moving through Toronto and Ottawa and meeting all kinds of amazing people in the Rebel Road shows. But in addition, I wanted to bring to you some people that are truly being rebels in their own right, people that are embarking on dreams and visions that have an expanded view, that really understand that we are here to be one, to take that from just an intellectual concept or just a topic of discussion to really acting it in the world and embodying it and allowing other people to connect to that vision so that they too can create that net of communication and connection and unity that we all seek, that we all desire, that we've all been talking about, but that we haven't fully engaged in. I'm really excited about the interview today with Jeff Brown because he's doing something amazing in the world. He's starting a project called Love It Forward. Now, many of you have probably heard about Pay It Forward, and so when I heard Love It Forward, this really made sense to me. Because Pay It Forward, although it has a beautiful connotation to it, it's still talking about paying something out. When we love it forward, there's nothing but expansion that can happen. And the whole concept that is behind Love It Forward is exactly that. It's about bridging the gaps between different parts of society so that we really do start to recognize one another as one, and we start to work in a new way of commerce. So talk about this new way of commerce, Jeff. Talk about what this is about. You've written books. You've got a DVD called Carmageddon. You were an attorney that now turned to a writing enthusiast, and you have this desire to connect people homeless to upper middle class as well, so that we all kind of unite.
Right. You know, I've never been interested in unity consciousness as a concept. It doesn't mean anything to me. I've had all kinds of unified experiences in my consciousness, but it meant I believe in what I call enrealment, or what I call ascending with both feet on the ground. Book. I really believe in bringing it all together, so that my version of spirituality is a unified one. It's not just a singular threaded one. It's not about expanding in the eastern direction and having a unity experience. It's about bridging the gaps between all elements of the human experience. And one of the elements that's always been important to me are the disenfranchised, and people who are disempowered in society, and somehow bringing them back into the web of connectiveness, not as a theory, not as a concept, not through acts of rebellion like Occupy simply, but through some construction of a pipeline or a distribution network that actually brings us all back together. It started in tangible form with my first edition of Soul Shaping. I had self-published it, and a guy named Slim, there's some videos on YouTube on my Soul Shaping channel, homeless guy in Toronto, and I were friends. I used to talk to him when I was writing the book about, you know, where your real home is. I mean, it was a fantastic dialogue. Always led to good writing afterwards. And we just had a conversation in Starbucks one day about him selling the book on a street level. And so it seemed preposterous, but at the same time completely congruent with my worldview. And so Slim sold, I think, a couple of thousand books standing on a street corner in Toronto in 2008, spring of 2008. People sent money from all places in the world asking Slim to sign the book, actually not asking me to sign the book. And I remember we had an order of 18 books from Atlanta once, and he had to write exactly who they were to. And there was a lot of energy built around it. So people liked the idea of helping the homeless person. They didn't just want to give them money. There was an assumption they were going to drink, they were going to, whatever they were going to do with the money. But if they got something in exchange, a book that actually had value for them, everybody benefited. It was just so simple. Everybody benefited. He was
talk about that. Talk about what it did for Slim. How did he feel knowing that people were asking for his signature, knowing that he was giving out something that was raising the vibes of the people that were reading it?
Yeah, his vibration changed. I mean, he was really, very cogent and very connective, but, you know, kind of sad and forlorn, of course, because of his circumstances. And there was a period of about 3 months when he was so excited to be alive. He would direct me to get exactly the right shirt. He had a shirt that said, "Buy a great self-help book here." He made signs. He had me get all the stuff that he needed. And he had goals again. He was going to have enough money to go back into the stock market. He was going to train to become a broker. He was, you know, ultimately his stuff caught up with him, as I understand it now. But he had about a 3-month period where he was happy to be alive again. And we have a YouTube video on my Soul Shaping channel that shows that. I remember walking into this chicken restaurant on St. Clair Avenue, Toronto one day, and Slim was there buying food for himself. He never went into places to buy food for himself like that. And for a moment, I didn't even know it was Slim. He was so excited and so delighted. And he started boasting that he'd sold, I think, 13 books that day. And it was fantastic. Everybody benefited. It was really beautiful.
That's wonderful. And so your vision for Love It Forward is a way to change the paradigms of how we view not just people, but money and exchange and all of that. Talk a little bit about the paradigm change for commerce.
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects to the framework, but the idea is it's an inclusive way of relating around money so that everyone benefits, not just the corporate dude, not just the structure that's in place, but so on the basic street level, students can sell the products and the books on the door-to-door level, on street corners, from office to office. Homeless people can do what Slim did, stand on a street corner. So they benefit, and the owner of the product benefits, and the receiver of the product benefits. We're going beyond that though. We're having specific causes. We're going to move from cause to cause on the website to bring money to particular causes. So the first cause of these two wonderful kids out of Buffalo grew up under really difficult circumstances. And the boy David, he has created this little makeshift recording studio in his apartment in Buffalo. All these kids from this tough neighborhood come in, support one another, rapping, recording, singing, finding their voice. And so our first cause is dedicated to bringing funds. So some percentage of what's brought into the system will go to getting them additional recording studios so that it can expand. There's people in Buffalo who are now talking about expanding on this idea and creating a building, a structure for kids from difficult areas to go in and actually make music. So, so that's one other element of it. The other piece is the affiliate link piece, so that people who have lists or friends who want to make some money who are having economic challenges can just get a link and send it around to their list, and whatever is sold off of the website, they'll get a percentage of that sale as well. So everybody's a part of it.
Yeah, and as I've seen on the Rebel Road, you know, everything has shown up just automatically. I was supposed to sing, I was supposed to do certain things, an RV was supposed to appear, and all of those things just trickled in. You know, in a music industry where typically it's all about contracts and negotiations and money and who owns the rights, I had singers and musicians from all over the country just send me lists of songs wanting to be a part of something in service. And I think that that's the place that we're at. People want to serve, they want to connect, they want to come together so that their own puzzle piece of unique genius connects with someone else's puzzle piece of unique genius.
Right.
How have you seen that, other than what you've just said, how have you seen that taking place, and are you bridging the gap between those that don't have and those that do? Or the ones that do have it, are they getting it? Are they really getting down in the trenches and being with those that don't, or is that still going to be part of the process?
We have a long way to go. I'm real grounded about that. You know, I think the consciousness of humanity, we're crossing this bridge from survivalism as our defining principle to authenticity as our defining principle. So we're at the very beginning of that, trying to imagine who we are as a function of sacred purpose, not as a function of what we need to put food on the table. So we're at the beginning of that, but there's movement, I think. You know, we're seeing it in Buffalo. Now, Buffalo's not a wealthy place, so it's not a very, you know, LA would be a much better example. If we could move it in LA, that's, I think, something. But in Buffalo, it's happening. You know, Joseph Wooten, who's one of the Steve Miller Band guys, he offered his song "I Mattered." He knows these kids. He used to, I think he came from Buffalo. He used to go. He still goes and he teaches there and does all kinds of stuff. And he knows these kids. And the pianist manages him, and so he offered up his song "I Matter," which is a fantastic anthem for the disenfranchised. We recorded Mimi, one of the kids, singing it, and we're going to have that up on the Love It Forward website for donation. And now a number of other people are having a gathering next weekend in Buffalo, and a bunch of people are coming, including one fellow who's running for mayor in Buffalo in the next couple of months. And so it's happening, but I think we have a long way to go, and that's okay.
It is okay, and we have to be realistic about that part as well.
Or we're not going to get anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I wrote the book Conversations with the Universe, so I look at everything as a conversation. And everything is a mirror to who we are, because in my opinion, there's only one person here. There really is no one else. And so when we look at that experience, tell me what it is you feel that the homeless are here to be the mirror of for all of us.
Well, you know, but for the grace of God, there go I was always in my consciousness. I grew up in an environment where we were always afraid we'd be homeless. It was threatened all the time. We moved from place to place. So, you know, I understand that on a very simple level, the division between me and that other in particular, there's really not much of one at all. One change in circumstances, one bad early life experience that affects my consciousness in a way that can't be resolved. And I'm that dude on the street. And I think we've just got to start there. We've got to really understand that if we're not living in those circumstances, that we're just profoundly blessed. I've always understood that to be the case. And in terms of reflection, I mean, homelessness is an interesting concept. most people I know are homeless. When you're talking about essence and you're talking about living a life of sacred purpose, and to me everything is about sacred purpose, not just your callings, not just your archetypal transformations, but your unresolved emotional material. All that stuff is the grist for your soul's expansion. And so if you look at what home feels like in relation to sacred purpose, I don't know too many people who are at home yet. I mean, you know, it's a very simplistic way of looking at it, that physical home is home and that's all there is to it. Now, if you're homeless, it's pretty meaningful, and I really, just not to trivialize that, but if we're talking about the overarching idea of actually knowing why you're here, having all your cells vibrate, wake up every morning knowing what you're here, what you're called to do, living that through your day, embodying that morning, afternoon, and night, going to bed with that, then everyone mostly is homeless. So, you know, we have a lot of work to do with respect to that. And I think starting in the most troubled area in a way, you know, I'm not into, you know, these expanded notions of unity consciousness. I believe in what I call Western consciousness. So it's the connection between the quest for unity fundamental to the East and the quest for the healthy self-concept, the healthy psyche, the healthy self that's fundamental to the West. One wing or the other is just like being a one-winged bird for me. They have to weave together. And so I'm not into bullshit versions of non-duality. I'm interested in working in the dualities. We're here to work in the dualities. We have a lot of work in the dualities before we can have an experience of unity that's genuine and not just conceptual. And the perfect place to start is with the disenfranchised. If you can work through your obstacles to that, or your fear of becoming that, and allow yourself to bridge to that, and bridge to that part of your consciousness that can relate to an experience of homelessness, I think that's starting on the ground and basic level, and that's where we need to begin.
Because the earth plane is a plane of duality, and we have to understand that that's
here we are. That's why we're here. Hello. Exactly. You know, so you know the disembodied versions of non-duality, the looking at your pain body from across the room and actually pretending that you've actually worked it out because you're so head tripped that you can't connect to the emotional body. I call that self-avoidance masquerading as enlightenment. If you want to have a real experience, an inclusive experience, you have to show up for all of it, and that's why we're here. It's
absolutely
so simple, actually.
So I also believe that everything we do first and foremost has to be for ourselves, and it's something that we have to gain within, and only then does it actually out and overflow to other people.
I agree.
So what is it inside of you that is being fed?
This is, I mean, I think that's right. It's all sacred purpose for me. So when I give to the dude, I'm giving back to me. It's somehow, and when he receives my gift, he's granting me a gift in return. So I really get that service is about me. I've identified certain elements in my life of my sacred purpose and path. And one of those is, for whatever reason, to work with people who are disenfranchised and to bring them back into the framework of connectiveness. And so I do that act because doing that actualizes that part of me. I embody, I inhabit my sacred purpose. And then when it's received and when it's validated by support of humanity and all the rest of it, all that does is gives me more energy to move forward. But I never for a moment think I'm doing any of this for you or for anybody else. This is all about my doing what I came here in this incarnation to do. And you know, if my work is about anything, it's about reminding people that they came in with this magnificent purpose encoded in the bones of their being. And if they can just find that, everything changes.
So a lot of people have been in one career and have a calling or a desire to move into something else, but are too afraid, or think it can't work, or don't give themselves the opportunity to have that. You move from criminal law to now being someone that's writing and creating a DVD and helping people in this way and establishing a publishing company. What gave you the courage to say, I can leave this and go to this?
You know, leaving criminal law was part. I used to see this guy, this Canadian lawyer named Eddie Greenspan on television when I was a kid. And I used to say, I'm going to work with that guy one day. I know that guy. I just knew that guy was part of my, what James Hillman called the innate image. It was part of my template for this lifetime. So was Bhagavad Gita, so was Ram Dass, all of them that have been part of my journey. And so moving into law was about my inhabiting the first step on that quest for my path and purpose. I also always knew I would leave it. So I articled with Eddie, I became a lawyer, and I knew I would leave it. And so I don't know, I mean, for sure it was a courageous journey, a very painful and difficult thing. I loved law. I'm not someone who hated law. My mommy told me to do it. I wanted to leave. I loved law. So And I left law to move at that time in the direction of a voice that I call the little voice that knows, but I really didn't know where it was leading me. I had no idea where I was going. And so it took courage, but it also was about reflecting what was inside of me. You know, if you get clear enough on what you're called to become in this lifetime, if you really take that seriously on a very basic, almost primal level, eventually you don't have a choice. Actually, you enter the state of no choice, and there was a time when it wasn't that simple. You know, I mean, it was like very close. It was like 51 to 49. I'd walk away and trust this voice, whatever this voice was. But you know, I mean, you know, for most people, they need courage, but they also need to do enough work to get clear on why they're here. Because if you know that you're supposed to be somewhere else, you hear that distant flute. That distant flute never lets you go, and eventually you have no other choice but to move towards it, or the universe, one way or the other, will force you to.
Yes, it will shift you and create that.
Yeah.
So I want you to check out Jeff Brown. You can see the link below for Love It Forward, as well as his other information. Carmageddon is a film that has been created. It's got Ram Dass, Bhagavan Das, his own story, so you can check that one out as well. Ascending with Both Feet on the Ground is his soulbite book, and that's one of the pieces that he's starting with in his Love It Forward campaign. And then Soul Shaping is his own story. So tap into Jeff Brown, his amazing work. If it's something that calls to your heart and you want to be a part of, then there are many ways that you can do that. The question to ask yourself right now is, where am I homeless? What is it in the world that I'm not willing to see that is actually the me that I need to see in this moment? And then how can I serve that part of me by also serving others? This is Simran Singh on the Rebel Road, helping you to meet people who are willing to now step forward into their light and truly shine in a way to be the example and the permission that you need to also do the same. In love, of love, with love, and as love, I'm Simran Singh with Jeff Brown. Now, love it forward. Take care.